The Arizona Department of Environmental Quality provides funding to help meet clean water standards through the Water Quality Improvement Grant Program. This grant program is funded by the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency under Section 319H of the Clean Water Act. ADEQ performs a study of the total maximum daily load that a stream can carry and still meet water quality standards. The Nutrioso Creek TMDL for turbidity report was completed in July 2000. 7 out of 27 miles of the creek exceeded turbidity standards due to exposed stream banks aggravated by historical overuse from large ungulates such as livestock and elk. The TMDL report recommendations are presented to property owners who may participate in the grant program to implement best management practices. In this case, Mr. Crosswhite had recently purchased property that needed water quality improvement practices to meet standards. In recent years, Mr. Crosswhite has written grant applications addressing water quality issues on the ECBarRanch. The ADEQ has awarded grants up to 60% of the total project costs, with Mr. Crosswhite matching the balance of expenses to complete specific practices. Here is Mr. Crosswhite to explain water quality improvement practices on the ECBarRanch.
In 1996, I bought this ranch. It was about 300 acres. It's located in the White Mountains of northeastern Arizona near the town of Springerville. It has a 2-mile riparian zone, which is Nutrioso Creek. It's a perennial stream. At the time I bought the ranch, I didn't realize what all was involved in conservation projects such as repair and restoration, but as I got further along, I started with an evaluation of the riparian area, and it was rated non-functional. I had asked the Natural Resource Conservation Service, that's the NRCS, to create a conservation plan for my ranch, and they recommended a number of practices which not only include water quality practices, but other upland pasture practices that would generally improve the economics as well as the habitat and water quality on the ranch. This is a riparian fence that we built to keep livestock out of the creek. It separates the upland pasture from the riparian zone. This is a drill rig to drill water wells with. So the idea of drilling water wells is to, as a conservation project, is to provide off-channel water for livestock so they don't have to go into the riparian zone or the Nutrioso Creek to drink water. So that's what's underway right here. And after the well is drilled, then we put a pump in it, and then a drinker or a storage tank over here for the livestock to drink out of. This is a drinker that basically provides water to livestock and wildlife. It's made out of a used heavy equipment tire. The tire is 4 feet high and 8 feet across, holds about 1,500 gallons of water. And what happens is we cut out the top of it so that the livestock can get to it. You want to provide water for both livestock and wildlife away from the creek, which is right down here. And the tire drinkers are actually a very good way to do that. So another type of conservation effort is to find a way to keep livestock from having to go in and out of the creek. So what we did was we decided we would create or build a livestock bridge that would allow the livestock to cross the creek but not have to go down into the creek. So we built this bridge. It's about 50 feet across, and it spans the top terrace to terrace. It's not down into the creek, and we didn't dig out anything. Not only does it help the creek, and the beaver have now expanded their beaver dams, and they have now about 7 or 8 dams built in this area right here, where before they didn't have, I think they had 2 upstream. So the livestock bridge seems like kind of a simple thing, but it actually serves an important function. I bought this ranch in 1996. The creek was, in this area right here, was rated non-functional. And the reason was that the livestock had eaten all the vegetation, and there were no willows and there were no sedges or any grass down there. Basically, it was pretty well eaten down. And what was happening was these exposed banks over here were eroding into the creek. So whenever we installed the riparian fence, which is over here on each side of the creek, that allowed us to control livestock grazing. And what's happened then is it's allowed the grass to start coming back again, and we planted quite a few willows down in this area. And the more willows there are, the better the creek can function, because what you want to try to do is reduce the force of the water, kind of reduce the rate of flow. And the willows and the vegetation and the sedges all contribute to doing that. And actually, it also, whenever you reduce the rate of flow, it causes the sediment that's in the water to fall out or be released. The faster the water's flowing, the more sediment load that it can carry. So as you allow this natural process to occur by revegetating or restoring the riparian area, well then you reduce the amount of sediment, and it actually cleans the water. That's why it's called a clean water improvement practice. Well, now we're down in the creek at a location that illustrates a particular technique that's used to improve the channel. This is called a riffle weir. It's also called a stream grade control structure. And the way they're constructed is that we just basically take a 2x2 stake, and we drive those into the stream bed at a certain angle. And the idea is that between the rows, the stream will fill that in with sediment, and then vegetation will grow in there. And what that does is it tends to raise the level of the stream bed. Another conservation project is eradication of rabbit brush. This is an example of a rabbit brush. It is about 6 feet tall. They don't all grow this tall, but the they have a very deep taproot. It goes down about 20 feet. And when you have an area that has been farmed in the past, like this ranch was, and then you stop farming, rabbit brush becomes a problem to the point that eventually, like on this particular ranch, where there was so many rabbit bushes and such a small amount of grass, that the livestock were really forced into the riparian zone. What we do now is that we mow it, and that gets these larger rabbit bushes down. And then we come along with a root plow, which is a big blade that is about maybe 8 or 10 feet long. The blade floats in the ground about 4 to 6 inches under the ground, and it cuts the root of the rabbit brush below the terminal bud. And what that does is it actually kills the plant. And the advantage of doing that is that then you can come back and overseed it again, the ground, and as the grass develops and it becomes established and you don't overgraze, then it's very difficult for the rabbit brush to become established again. In order to do rotational grazing, which is generally one of the best management type practices that are recommended for controlling livestock and economics of ranching, is basically to build cross fences. And what they do is they divide up the other pastures into smaller, and the large pasture into smaller pastures. So right now we have about 15 pastures altogether, and the reason that's important is because the livestock can be placed in, say, this pasture, and they eat the grass down to a certain level, and then we rotate them to, say, this pasture. And we keep rotating between pastures so that they're never actually able to overgraze in any one pasture. In the past, whenever this system was built 100 years ago, they built earth ditches, and we calculated out that the amount of seepage and evaporation out of earth ditches with the amount of water that we take out for our water rights is about 100 million gallons a year. That's just the loss due to seepage and evaporation. So what we decided to do was to try to reduce that by basically putting a pipe from the point where we take the water out of the creek to a sprinkler system. In other words, we tried to convert our surface water use to a sprinkler system because it's about 75% more efficient than flood irrigation. Anyway, so the way this system works is the water is taken out of the creek through a diversion that also screens out for fish that are in the creek. And then it comes down this 10-inch pipe, this sort of reddish colored 10-inch pipe, for about 1,000 to 1,200 feet. And then it flows into this 250,000 gallon storage tank, which is basically about 5 feet high and 100 feet square. And what happens is that whenever we turn on the water pump, which is powered by a 380 horsepower diesel motor, it takes water out at the rate of 1,500 gallons a minute, and it pressurizes it to 125 psi. And then it goes out through aluminum pipe into the field. This is a sprinkler head that is connected to the water pump, and during the irrigation season, water comes out the end of it, and it rotates around in a circle, and it shoots about 125 foot radius, so it's 250 foot diameter, and each sprinkler head covers about 1 acre. and the nozzle allows about 100 gallons a minute of water to come out. And after 27,000 gallons is applied to 1 acre, then we go on to another set of sprinkler heads. So there may be 10 sprinkler heads running at one time, and after 3 or 4 hours, then we close those and open another set until we cover the whole 100 acres.
The ECBarRanch.com website has more information about conservation practices and agency support, including National Resource Conservation Service Environmental Quality Improvement Program, Arizona State Land Department Stewardship Incentive Program, Arizona Department of Water Resources Arizona Water Protection Fund, Arizona Department of Environmental Quality, Arizona Game and Fish Department, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service Partners for Fish and Wildlife Grant Program, Western Region Sustainable Agriculture Research and Education. For more information about the Water Quality Improvement Grant Program, contact the Arizona Department of Environmental Quality. Call 1-800-234-5677 or log on to the ADEQ website at www.adeq.state.az.us. For more information about conservation practices on the ECBar Ranch, visit the website at www.ecbarranch.com.